The National Football League recently agreed to settle a lawsuit by 4,200 former players for $765 million. The issue claims that violent collisions are intrinsic to football and they may have led to early onset dementia and catastrophic brain damage. I sat down with a neuroscientist as well as athletic officials to talk about how they are trying to curtail concussion risks among high school and college players. Joining us to talk about this issue is Kent Kyle, a neuroscientist with the Mind Research Network and director of the New Brain Safe Project. We'll talk about that. Paul Krebs is here. He's the director of athletics at the University of New Mexico. Dusty Young, associate director of the New Mexico Activities Association, and Kevin Barker, who's football coach at Sandia High. Thank you guys for all coming in. It's an interesting subject. We have a lot to tackle. It's a big one for parents, that's for sure. Kent, let me start with you. I'm very interested on what you guys are doing at the Mind Research Institute in Brains. Explain the program and explain the need for why the program is important.
Sure. So the program is essentially designed to help us understand if there are any brain changes associated with athletic sports and head-related impacts. So what we're doing is, in partnership with the university, all of the athletes who are in contact sports at the University of New Mexico will get a baseline MRI scan that covers structure, function, connectivity, chemistry, and perfusion. So it's all possible measures of brain function that we can currently do. And if at any point during a season they have an acute event, they're diagnosed with a concussion, they come back, they get another scan, and we look to see if there's any differences. Has there anything that changed? Is there any problems?
Because currently there is no baseline.
Well, currently if you get a concussion, an MRI is not really helpful for detecting anything. But the difference, so having the baseline and then looking at the difference will tell us if there's been any change.
Interesting.
And so to the best that we can do right now. And the sequences and the imaging that we're doing it's the most advanced scanner in the state. It's a very it's a very sophisticated system. And we've just upgraded it to the latest next generation of sequences. So these are not even available to the public yet. And so the research apparatus that we've kind of put together to help do this program is very unique. So that's the plan. Then every year the athletes will get another scan. It takes about an hour. It's totally non-invasive, and we get to look and see over the seasons, are there any changes?
Sure. Interesting. Paul Krebs, good to see you here. Thank you for taking the time to do this. And why did you at the university, you and others at the university, want to get this program going in the first place? What was it about college football and college athletics? And in fact, you mentioned other sports, not just football, and volleyball was in there too, as a matter of fact. It was interesting. What was the driver for you guys to actually research this and go into this program?
Well, we've got 7 sports now, Gene, that are involved in this program with Kent. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have the best tools and the best information available before our athletes go back into play. The NCAA requires every school to have a concussion protocol in place. We have that. We have great medical care with our team physicians. We have a number of systems in place currently. And what Dr. Keel and this Brain Safe program offers is a really cutting-edge tool that is another piece of information that our team physicians, Dr. Veach, Dr. McGrew, Bob Waller, our head trainer, it will be another piece and a significant piece of information that we'll use to determine when our athletes can go back to play. And in the end, I think it provides the best information, a tremendous tool to see that our student athletes get the best care and we're making the best medical decisions we can.
I can imagine. You know, the Frontline documentary on concussions, interestingly, was about the NFL, but I have to imagine that this serves the NFL well as well, meaning if you have a baseline and know where these athletes are from year 1 through year 4, in your recruiting or drafting rather for NFL athletes, do you anticipate a time that's going to be a standard part of drafting procedure to know where these guys are on MRI stuff? And is that the future here?
Well, I think clearly, I'm not a physician. I probably can't address that. What I think I see, and I think what's apparent to the public, is this tremendous concern about safety, tremendous concern about concussion protocol, and making sure that whether it's youth or college-age student athletes or professional athletes, that we're doing the best we can, have the best information, so that we're not putting people at risk.
Interesting. I want to talk about recovery and all those kind of things in a second. I want to swing these guys in. It's interesting. Once you have that baseline, what do you do then? It's an interesting situation you've got here. Dusty Young, Associate Director of the New Mexico Activities Association, thank you for coming in as well. You're dealing with much younger guys that we're talking about here. But same issue, isn't it? The same issue. But the difficulty is with concussions is, we were talking before, it's hard to determine that in real time at that moment what has happened. It's afterwards that has to happen. What have you guys done at association to let parents know that you're on top of it and you're aware of this as well?
We've done several different things over the last couple of years. Actually, in 2010, the state legislature enacted Senate Bill 1, which deals with concussions, especially at the middle school and high school level. And some of the things that we do in conjunction with that bill is in education. That's probably the most important thing, not only with our athletic directors, but also our coaches, our students, and the student athletes' parents as well. That's part of every season, every year. Coaches have to go through concussion training to kind of see, the ins and outs of concussions, signs and symptoms of those things. That way they can recognize out on the field or try to recognize if a kid has had a concussion during an athletic contest. Same thing, so those parents know. Sometimes those symptoms don't come until after the game or after practice. So if they're at home, hopefully those parents can recognize, hey, something's wrong here. Let's get you checked out by a physician and see if you have had a brain injury. Then some other things that we do, of course, are those protocols after a concussion has been diagnosed. We do have a 7-day sit policy, no activity whatsoever after those 7 days.
So in practice, no contact practice, no.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, no contact at all. So. So they have that 7-day period, and then they're still not ready to go. From there, they have to be cleared by a physician before they can actually get back into the swing of activities.
Okay, interesting. Take us through the one of the things that's been pointed out over the studies and things is the continual basis of low-level hits that come with practice, not quite game condition, but good enough to cause problems. What is, as an association, have you guys made adjustments on that kind of thing and your recommendations to coaches and things?
It's something we're actually talking about as we speak. We currently don't have any regulations in place with contact time during practice. However, our goal as an association is to have something implemented for next school year.
Okay.
Of course, the practice, there's been some studies that show practice, there are a lot more concussions that happen there than during games. So we definitely want to address that situation. The thing is with high school athletics, that's probably the biggest area where you need to try and teach proper technique with tackling. You have a lot of kids that may not have had a lot of experience growing up with football, so we have our coaches like Coach Barker that do a great job of that. But at the same time, we need to try and minimize that contact as much as possible because you really don't have to go full blown to learn the proper techniques of tackling.
Which brings us to Coach Barker. Interesting lead in there. You guys are where I feel the most empathy because this is the bottom line of where it either happens or it doesn't happen with coaches. In awareness of coaches, lack of awareness, everyone's at their own level. And here's the other piece of empathy that gets me. I think about kids and my own self when I played a little bit of ball as a younger guy. You want to make the team, right? You want to make the team. So what do you do when you're trying out in training camp is you blow people up if you're on the defensive side of the ball or if you're on the offensive side of the ball. Same thing if you're blocking. And how do you factor all that in? You want a tough kid who can really get in there and get a guy to the ground. That's football. How do you train someone not to hit illegally but still make a good play like that?
Well, I think it's proper technique. I mean, you preach that from ground zero when we start practices, and we say look up, lock up, and hit on the rise. I mean, and that's how we teach our tackling technique.
Now explain that a little bit. Hitting on the rise. What's that mean?
You're looking up, so you're facing them, and you're coming in. You're squared up, and then as you hit them, then you come up through them, and you take them down.
Gotcha.
Proper technique, I think, is key. We've been doing that for 6 or 7 years.
Right.
After going to a coaching clinic and learning there, but I think that's key to what you need to do.
Sure. How about on the offensive side of the ball? A lot of running backs get in the habit of lowering their head, and there's a lot of helmet-to-helmet contact that happens that way. Is there a teaching protocol for that as well?
Yeah, see what you're hitting. I mean, we're gonna have our eyes up. They're gonna see the hole for their vision, but that's actually a penalty. That you can't. The offensive guy cannot lead with the top of his helmet.
Right. No more Walter Payton type.
Yeah, none of that. No more.
Interesting. In your sense of coaches, not to make you speak for other coaches, but are you finding there's general acceptance of these new protocols to protect the players from concussions, or are there still some old school guys out there that just kind of get the old ammonia under the nose and get back out there the way you used to do it? What's your sense of things?
I think there's an acceptance.
Okay.
I mean, it's. The protocol, I think, is in place, and we tend to follow it. Our trainer really is the boss once they get the concussion, and then the trainer sends them back to the doctor. After the 7 days, they still have to run
Right.
You know, to fatigue, and then they have to come out. They can do drills, but no contact.
Okay.
Then they can come to contact, and then they're able to go back into the game. So
Right.
it's really, it's 10 or 11 days once you get a concussion or you're diagnosed with a concussion.
Wow. Has this changed your coaching style at all, these new protocols?
You know, I think I've grown over the years. I've been a head coach 21 years, and our full takedown time where we take them down to the ground and tackle them is probably 2 7-minute periods a week.
Okay.
As we get into district and playoff time, we're not taking them. We call it thud.
Okay.
They come up and just rap and thud, and,
Sure.
and then we have a quick whistle. So we tend to not go out in full pads quite a bit. I mean, we're in helmet and jerseys, or we're in helmet and shoulder pad shell.
Right. Are your players fresher on Saturday because of that?
Yeah,
Have you found that?
Definitely.
Interesting.
I mean, your legs, they have their legs under them, and it's been good. to us.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's go back to MRIs and the science of this. I appreciate what the coach is saying, because there's a human element to this, to be able to have the eyes and ears and an intuitive sense of what's going on with your players. But you have science to back it up. So now I'm curious, once you see something, or maybe we're not at that point yet, what's the next step there? Do you involve yourself in this player needs to sit out for an entire season?
So you've just jumped ahead about a year,
Okay.
And so this program, is going to probably find some very novel things that a lot of people are going to be consulted, experts in my field, to help understand exactly what those things are.
Right.
We do know from other literatures, not human literatures, animal work, that there are changes in the brain associated with concussive events, and the brain does tend to recover from those events. And so there's a lot. The brain is a very plastic, malleable, and we learn more about it every year. About how plastic it can be. And so there is a lot of, sometimes the recovery might be different for different people.
Sure.
The MRI data will help us tell that. That injury didn't cause a problem, you're actually completely fit, ready to go back, versus someone who might, you look the same at the beginning, but now they're slower to recover. This is well known from the trainers programs, but the neuroscience data will tell us why. And maybe there's different treatments or different medicines that actually might help speed up that recovery.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's the science that we're trying to do.
Interesting. What does that mean for the program? Having this kind of information, is it a better recruiting tool? You're going to be a safer player? What's in it for the university in the overall sense here?
Well, I think the most important thing, Gene, is safety of the student athlete.
Okay.
As Dr. Keel mentioned, once that MRI happens, the next step for us is then there's conferring with our team physicians and our head trainers about when a young man or woman would be cleared to go back to play. And so it's first and foremost about safety. Is it a recruiting advantage? It certainly could be. I think one of the things that we're very proud of is our association with UNM hospitals. Our team physicians are all faculty members, and we tout that in the recruiting process, and this will give us one more tool as we talk about safety and care to moms and dads for their sons and daughters. It's just another piece of the equation, and I think it will become more significant as time goes by. But
Have you personally found, Paul, sorry to cut you off there, my fault. Have you personally found that parents or the inquiries have been ticked up over the past few years? Have you found that anecdotally?
I think what we have found, maybe most importantly, and Dusty hit on it earlier, I think the single biggest thing is educating the student athletes. There's this macho, I got to get back to play, I got to return to play, I'm weak if I don't get back, or I want to help my teammates. I think singularly, we have to continue to educate young men and women and their parents about the potential risks, why this is very important, and why you don't want to go back to play until you're cleared, because the inclination for the competitor is, I got to get back on the field, and they need to understand the consequences if they're not fully healed.
Sure, absolutely. Dusty, interesting point these guys are bringing. Would you personally like to see these kind of scientific possibilities for younger guys, the folks that you work with? Is that a viable option for you?
I think down the road, absolutely. As Paul mentioned, the safety of the kids is the most important thing that we deal with on a daily basis at the NMAA. So if it's something that we can sustain at the high school and middle school level, absolutely. If it's going to help out our kids,
and the developing brain is very different than adult brain, right? So it's much more plastic, much more susceptible to all sorts of influences, much more susceptible to peer influences, for example, in terms of wanting to get back into play, because all your peers say that. The older you get, the less susceptible you are to peer influences. And so there's a lot of things that are going on in there that if we're planning to actually work with some local high schools as well, and if as part of an outreach to the university, it's very possible that the work will be very different in young brains versus teenage brains versus adult brains, and the impacts could have very different effects. And so this is well known from a neuroscience perspective in terms of neurodevelopment for a long time, but influence of these things could be very different. Very different treatments, very different time windows of recovery. Kids may recover much faster
Right.
than adults, for example. That's a pretty standard type of thing that you find, right? The juvenile developing brain might be much more resilient. Then again, you have all of these, the issues that it raises. And I wanted to touch on one of the things you mentioned
Please.
earlier. MMA, the fighters, the guys that,
Oh, yeah.
well, a whole different crowd, but they have to get a brain scan now before they get cleared to go into the ring to make sure they don't have things like an aneurysm or some sort of bleed or other types of problems. And so that's actually a benefit that I think most contact sports might start to implement, like the NFL, is to make sure there isn't something that could be catastrophic.
Right.
Because most of those aneurysms are treatable, right? And then you don't have someone who could hit a head and then die. And this has happened just a couple months ago. There was a big news report about a teenage boy who, played football and might have had one of those events.
Right.
And so it's just not like different. Remember when we were kids, it was always about the one kid, Len Bias, I remember him, had a heart attack and died on the basketball court, right?
That's right.
Had a diagnosed heart condition, but it wasn't assessed then. Now there's a huge protocol for hearts, right? And UNM won't clear, or other schools won't clear people if they have a heart problem. And now we're just going to do the same thing for the brain. We're just going to take more care of it, I think.
I like that analogy because it seems to me, Coach Barker, when Dusty does his thing with his age guys, they're coming to you. If they have some talent in middle school, they have some talent, they're clearly going to be a good high school player. Would it help you as a coach to have that kind of information coming in the door from middle school about where these guys are at, how to coach them, how to play them? Is that helpful? Would that be helpful?
I think
for
that
you?
would be.
Yeah.
I mean, any history you can have about your player who's coming in would be helpful once they get up to high school.
Interesting. Where do you see high school football going? We could just wrap up here in just a couple of seconds, but high school football is a big deal in this part of the country. It's a big deal in our state, West Texas, all that kind of thing. Does it help the game to be safer? I think I know the obvious answer here, but in its popularity, does it mean something for people in your view?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, and the numbers are a big thing. You want to get the kids out to play,
Right.
and the safer that it is, the moms will allow them to play. I mean,
Right.
that's the big thing.
It's a big deal
You gotta-
now, isn't it?
You have
Yeah.
to sell the mom.
That's
I
right.
mean, and that's a big deal for us. And so
Yeah.
I think the safer that the game is, the better it'll be.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much. It's a big issue, and I feel like New Mexico, we're on the tip of the bow here. We're actually in a forward place compared to the other places I've read about across the country. Through your work, your openness to it, Mr. Krebs, you know what I mean? The university has to be able to accept it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And all of us, from 7-year-olds up to high school, it's a big deal for all of us in our community. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you very much.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.